Alright, good morning again. The topic is solving simultaneous equation. Now, simultaneous equations when you have two linear equations. I will solve them and find the solution with both solutions for x and y or any variable that they use. They can use a and b, p and q, n and m, but we know oftentimes we use x and y in mathematics in algebra, and because x and y can be easily associated with the graph paper, the Cartesian pinning. So sometimes they say systems of equation because the answer, the solutions for the two variable can work for the two equations. So sometimes they say systems of equation. So on your course outline, just understand. So what we're going to do today, we're going to solve simultaneous equation using the elimination method. You have the substitution method and the elimination method. And as usual, we start from basics, starting with pure positive term. So we get an understanding before moving to the negative, which becomes challenging because we oftentimes forget our integers, which is transferred to every topic in mathematics. Alright, so importantly, we must remember our procedural knowledge, how we do it, and also the conceptual knowledge, understanding why we do certain things in the maths and why we're doing it. Alright, so importantly, we're solving algebraically, so we're going to do some calculations. But remember, simultaneous equation can be solved graphically, which we will do later. Alright, so see, we observe, one of the things that we must do is observe our terms. So we have positive x, positive y equal 5, positive 3x, positive y equal 7. So what this is asking, what two different numbers can we find? Is it 4 and 1? Is it 3 and 2? When we add it, we get 5. But those two numbers must apply to this equation. When we plug it inside or substitute here, we get 7 also. So we're going to calculate to find those two numbers, those two solutions. Alright, and we're eliminating. Now, oftentimes we don't know that the procedures are a cycle, a step, what we follow. Alright. Now, as I said to my students, maths can do more than one way. Right? But this method of elimination is something that I came up with that remove a lot of confusion, but it's similar to anything that you're going to see another person do. Alright, so the steps, the procedure of doing it this way. The first thing I normally do is remove or pick off the coefficient. So the prior knowledge to doing simultaneous equation is the concept coefficient. So if you remember, coefficient is the constant, the number in front of the variable, and in this case it's implied. The coefficient of this x is 1, positive 1. So when we're picking off the coefficients, we must ensure that we write if it's positive or negative, so that we can write positive numbers like this. The coefficient of this y, what number is in front of y? It's implied that it's a positive 1, because it's a positive 1, equal 5. So we just rewrite the equation, leaving the variable and just writing the coefficient. Second equation, what's the coefficient of the x term? 3, positive. What's the coefficient of the y here? 1, positive, equal 7. So that's the first step. Now after we remove the coefficients in order in line vertically here, like we just rewrite the equation, leaving out the variable using the coefficient. Now, second thing we must do is observe which coefficients for the variables are the same. And if we observe here, we realize the 2y are the same. So we're going to focus on that. So when we realize which ones are the same, we focus on that. Now, the method is elimination. So we're going to try and eliminate. We eliminate by either adding or subtracting. So we draw a line here, like we're doing maths in primary school. Always remember your primary skills. Now focus on the ones that are the same, the white coefficient. If I am using the positive, the plus, and if I put the plus here, 1 plus 1, observe how I move again, 1 plus 1, so I top number, come to the sign, go to the bottom number, 1 plus 1. Sometimes we don't see it vertically, so we can write at the side of the book 1 plus 1 equals 2. So that means it doesn't eliminate. and we want to eliminate mean we get 0. So right there we see that the addition cannot use, so we try, then it must be the other sign to eliminate it, the subtraction. So when we reach the third step, it's either with plus or minus to eliminate. 1 minus 1, 0. That means the subtraction sign will work to eliminate this term. That's why the elimination method. So let's go now. We're going to subtract everything now vertically. So 1 minus 3. Sometimes we can't see the workout vertically, especially when negative. So I said I'm imploring you to write it horizontally at the side. Okay. So for example, 1 minus 3 of 103. The result of that is still 02 if I pay my bill. So 1 minus 3, sorry, give us negative 2. 1 minus 1, 0. We don't need to write that as long as it's eliminated. Then 5 minus 7. So if you realize all of the two numbers vertical is going to be subtracted, whatever sign you have here. So 1 minus 3 minus 2. 1 minus 1, eliminate 0. So don't need to write the 0, because sometimes it's confusing. 5 minus 7 equals, so the equal sign always comes back down in line. So 5 minus 7, if I write it horizontally, I see that I'll get minus 2. Now, look back now. This line represents which of the variable? The x variable. So all we need now is to solve this equation. Negative 2x equal minus 2. So we're solving for x. So we're going to divide both sides by minus 2 to find 1x positive. Remember, our variable cannot be negative. So negative 2x divided by negative 2 equal negative 2 divided by negative 2, leaving us with x equals signs. Watch your signs. Negative into negative, positive, 2 into 2, 1. Oh my God. So what we just did, so after we subtract, we solve for x. So we divide through by negative 2. So we do what we do to the left, we do to the right. So we have x equal 1. So we have just found the solution for x. Now we need to find y. So what we need to do is select one of the equations. You are in charge of the math, anyone you're comfortable with, to find the next variable. We have just found x, but we need to find y now. We need to find the value for y. So I'm going to find y by selecting equation 1. I'm going to use it. You could have used equation 2, but I think equation 1 will be easy for me, so I use it. So find y, write in a statement, find y using equation 1. So write equation 1, x plus y equal 5. Remember we found x above here. That's why simultaneous equations sometimes are long. So what is x? X is 1. We substitute x for value of 1 plus y equal 5. Solving for y now. Y equal 5. We want to isolate y, so we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So our transpose 1 to the other side, minus 1. So y equal 4. So therefore, x equal 1 and y equal 4. Okay. All right, let's try another one. Important to know is not all the time we're going to get the variable the same. All right. So we're going to try a negative one now. All right. So the first step, pick out the coefficient. So the coefficient of the first equation, 2, positive 2. But what is the coefficient of this y value? It's negative 1 equal 4. Second equation, what's the coefficient of the x term? Positive 1. What's the coefficient of the y term? Negative 1. So you realize when it's negative, we have to write a negative sign in front of the term. Equal to 1. Right, so the first step is to pick up our coefficients. Then we need to eliminate now by either adding or subtracting. So we have to play around with it to see which one works. So we draw our line. Now the focus is on the ones that are the same. So this is where it becomes tricky because we have negatives. So you have to be careful. Now you're going to ask yourself, if I put a addition sign here, and if I had -1 plus -1, look at it. Let's look at it. -1 plus -1, right? -1 plus -1. If I should do that, -1 plus -1, will I get 0? No, because where we have two signs each other, we're going to multiply and change the sign to 1. So -1 plus times minus give us negative. So our answer will be -2. Because if I owe 1 and I go back and owe again and trust again, then my bill will be I owe 2. So we have to be careful. This is when it becomes more challenging when we have negative. So sometimes it's best to write it horizontally and see it. So if I put a positive sign here and then say -1 plus -1, if I write it horizontally, I see it better. I realize that I need to change the 2 sign here to 1, which I multiply together. And then I say I owe 1 and I owe 1. So I would not get 0. And the aim of eliminating would be getting 0. So that means that the plus sign cannot work here. So if it's not plus, then automatically it's minus. 100% sure. So let's go now. 2 minus 1. What's how I move? Top, sign, bottom. 2 minus 1 give us 1. Now, -1. Let me show what this is saying now. This is saying -1 top sign minus 1. Observe. -1, and these two signs have to come together to make 1, or multiply. 2 negative signs give us a positive. 1 comes back. So if I owe 1 and I have $1 to pay, if I pay my bill, then I owe nothing. So it's eliminated. So I know I'm correct. So -1 minus -1 will give me 0. Eliminate. So don't need to write a 0. So top 4 minus 1 give me, equal sign always comes down, 3. Now look back again. These coefficients represent the coming down in the line for the x terms. So this should have 1x. So therefore, x is equal to 3 divided by 1. So x is equal to 3. So we just found x. So now we need to find y. Again, you select an equation to find the other value for y, or for the next variable. So I'm going to use equation 2 this time. This is equation 2. Look easier for me. Choose this one I want. So I'm going to write a statement. Find y using, I'm telling the marker, equation 2. So I'm going to write equation 2, x minus y equal 1. So it's basic substitution that we started off first with. So what is we have found x in the first part of the calculations. So x is 3, right, but minus y equal 1. So we're going to transpose here. Okay, so we're going to subtract from both sides. So minus y is equal to 1 minus 3 minus y, sorry. So we transpose. Remember, x is a positive we're adding here, so we transpose it -3. And so 1 minus 3 give us equal -2. Remember, our variable cannot be negative. So what is implied? What is here? -1. So we're going to divide through by -1. So negative y divided by -1 equal -2 divided by -1. So that's so y becomes positive. Remember, the variable cannot be negative, and it's implied that there's a 1 here. So we're dividing through by -1, -2. So therefore, x equal 3 and y equal 2. So these two solutions, you can test back and plug it back in the equation for x, right? So if we have x as 3 and y equal 2, 2, 3, 6, 6 minus 2 give us 4, so we know we are correct. So we must always test back or substitute back in our equation. Okay, all right, let's try another one more. So it's not the y value coefficient will always be the same, so let's try this one where the coefficients of the same coefficient will be on the x side now. So looking at this, what's the coefficient of the x term? Positive 1. What's the coefficient of the y term? Positive 3, equal to 0. What's the coefficient in the second equation of the x term? Positive 1. What's the coefficient of the y term? Negative 1, equal minus 4. So when we observe now, we observe that the x term that is the same, so we need to eliminate. How do we eliminate? We're working with plus or minus to eliminate, and this is where we draw our line. If I put a plus here and I say 1 plus 1, will I get 0? Will it eliminate? No, because 1 plus 1 will give us 2. So if it's not the positive, automatically its negative sign must be there. So 1 minus 1 give me 0. Eliminate. Going to the next set of numbers, the y coefficients. 3 minus 1. As I said, if you can't see it vertically, get a piece of paper or write at the side. This is saying top, sign bottom. This is saying 3 minus 1. So 3, once we have two signs beside each other, we're going to multiply, plus 1 equal to 4. So 3 minus 1 is equal to 4. And 0 minus 1 will equal to 4 also. Now this stands for which variable? Y variable. See it coming down, so we'll just put the y beside it. And then we solve for y now. So y equal 4 divided by 4 equal to 1. Sorry, so we just got 1. Now we need to find the next variable. So we select one of the equation and I say which one is comfortable or easier to you. I'm going to use this one, the positive one. So I'm going to find y. So obviously I'm going to find x now. So find x using equation 1. What is equation 1? X plus 3y equal 0. So therefore x plus 3 times y. What is y? We found y to be 1. So 3 times 1 equals 0. So x plus 3 1s, 3 equals 0. Therefore, to find x, to isolate x, x is equal to, when I transpose minus 3 from both sides, I'm going to get negative 3. So therefore, x is equal to negative 3 and y is equal to 1.